Good Sunday, everybody. This is Gavin Batista. We got jammed, would you believe, yesterday. Somebody jammed the whole program, and I'd like to say, obviously, they do not want me to be in your living rooms because of one thing. They are scared about the truth. They are scared that they are staying here in the United States on an illegal basis. So let me continue. The discussions yesterday was very, very controversial, to say the least, because everybody is talking about yours truly, Gavin Batista, the host of the Prosperity Channel. And I came out with several controversial statements. That's why they had to jam the whole gamut of that particular video program. And so I would like to repeat it one more time. It's about a little bit past 3:40 Central Time. And this is exactly what I had that video going on yesterday about this same time. Number one, the Iran conflict continues, and we can solve this immediately. When I say immediately, based on a given agreed comprehensive plan, based on agreed budget, and more importantly, what will suit the President of the United States, President Donald Trump. And all I can tell our friends from Israel is the fact that the Iranians are truly wanting peace. They do not believe totally on the leadership of the supreme leadership of the Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini. And many Iranians, as you know, millions of Iranians have already flown to the Philippines for the last 30 years by getting degrees in medicine, in financial institutions, and the list goes on, because the Philippines continues to be a mecca, a place to get educated, including people from Singapore, Bangkok, Thailand, Indonesia, China, of course, Taiwan, and the list goes on. What am I trying to say? We as a group can end this war because of our deep connections with the civilized part of Iran. And I must say point blank that we are in total awe, AWE, on the greatness, on the ability of the leadership of the Pentagon under Pete Hegseth to be able to quash the Iranian capacity to create nuclear weapons in the mountainous parts of Iran. What Pete Hegseth has done has practically equaled the abilities of one of the greatest, if not still the greatest, American general of all time, Douglas MacArthur. And I must say, Secretary Hegseth, I fully salute you, sir, for your great military talents, and may you continue to attack these elements, these anti-Americans who are continuously destroying the good name of the United States of America and continues to be a big threat in attacking the 50 states of the United States of America. What am I trying to say? Full speed ahead, Secretary Hegseth, that you must continue these attacks because you're one of a kind. It would be very difficult to duplicate what you did. And in my opinion, as I said, I am a historian, and based on history, it is very, very clear what you did was probably the greatest attack in U.S. history where nobody got killed. In effective 48 hours ago, there is no longer that major threat that Iran can attack the United States under its 50 states or its trust territories, I would say in the next 5 to 10 years. Thanks to you, Secretary Hegseth. So, what is shocking about the current wars is that Gaza continues to be a war zone. And as I was telling my connections in the Pentagon and in other parts of the United States, this is a very, very difficult issue. Why? Because it's a biblical issue. It says clearly in the Bible that Gaza will always be Gaza. In other words, these people will always attack Israel in one form or the other. What we can do as Americans is to contain Gaza, to make sure that any movement, especially on the military side, would be immediately quashed. That is the only way we can do this particular issue between the Israelites and the Palestinians. It's never ending. So the proposal, my proposal, which up to now the details are not yet directed to the president, is simply because of the fact that it will get stolen again. Because I got already robbed thousands of documents in Irvine, California, in a FedEx branch, where a Filipino, sad to say, a Filipino robbed my documents directed to a big multinational company in the East Coast. And we met in Orange, California, thank God. But they didn't understand it. They're very good at robbing, but they don't know what they're robbing. So to cut the long story short, I'd like to make sure that my documents will be directed immediately to our beloved President Donald Trump and Secretary Hegseth, Secretary Marco Rubio, and the list goes on. And as I said, we can end the wars tomorrow morning if we have the following: the comprehensive agreed plan, the star-studded negotiating panel, a budget that will sustain the efforts, not only during the time of President Trump, but in the next administration, so that the greatness of President Trump is not only good for 4 years, but good forever. And above all, we must agree on this continuous, dynamic, comprehensive planning, which again will rely on a very reasonable budget. Because as you know, one nuclear attack, let's say in Hawaii, by Iran will shock the world, and therefore it is only but smart, sharp on our part as Americans to have this budget ongoing, to have the negotiations non-stop, in order to assure the 50 states of the United States and its trust territories there is no way that nuclear weapons will be surrounding their given state in the foreseeable future. Because most Americans don't understand this. And then one of these days they'll say, oh, you should have told me that. Well, I'm telling it to you right now. I told that during the time of Ben Bernanke, when he was central bank governor or Fed chairman, but he never listened to me. But now he's listening to me. Believe me. Believe me, you can call up Ben Bernanke right now if he's listening to Gavin Bautista, originally from Quezon City, Philippines. And the most important subject matter for today, ladies and gentlemen, would be solving the $37 trillion US budget. When will it be finally solved? And the answer is very clear. It will be solved based on agreed, comprehensive, if I may say, strategic plan, but more importantly, a directional setting planning system on a per state basis in order to solve this humongous, terrible budget deficit of 37 trillion. Because it's hovering at that number, 36 to 37 trillion. But don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. If you really think very well, the proposed budget of Congressman Johnson and President Trump is absolutely a must. Don't get me wrong. We need a budget. And that budget might be a few $100 billion more than the original budget of President Biden. But we need that budget because it has to be done to make the progress of the Trump economy sustainable. Without the budget, the big beautiful budget, things cannot be sustained. I'll give you an example. The attack against Iran could not have been possible without those new fighter planes. And it is very sad that this should have been done a long time ago. And therefore, what I'm trying to say is that the U.S. threat on nuclear weapons could have been stopped a long time ago because we could have done this all over the world. Because what Secretary Hegseth has done was practically not only spectacular, as I said, but the greatest military feat of all time. 36 hours, nobody died, and that whole nuclear facility to attack the United States and other parts of the world is gone. Is gone. And therefore, what is the economic benefit to that? It's priceless. I cannot quantify it. It cannot be 1 trillion, 2 trillion, 10 trillion, even more than that. Because as I was telling my fellow economists, what is so difficult in big-time economics would be the intangible benefits. We can come out with an exact number, let's say X trillions, but what is impossible to do is if that nuclear attack was done in a given state like Hawaii, for example, okay? What if Hawaii is gone? What if the entire state of Hawaii is completely gone? How much is the cost of that? Of course, the financial experts can come out with a cost. But in terms of long-term economics, you cannot quantify that, because there is such a thing as an intangible asset that you cannot equate to just a fixed amount of 5, 10, 20 trillion. And it will destroy America's reputation as the #1 nation in the world, because it cannot even defend itself. We are #1 as a nation because we are prosperous. And above all, nobody can attack the United States of America. No one. And that should be preserved based on the military talents and might. Because everybody's saying in the corporate world especially, oh, this guy has an experience doing this and that. But when he or she comes to the table, they do not produce the revenues needed to make the company sustainable for growth. And therefore the company suffers, the company falls, the company ultimately goes bankrupt. What Secretary Hegseth has exemplified was extreme talents in military abilities. In other words, through the years, Secretary Hegseth has developed into a military genius. And that's what we need in America. And that's what you cannot quantify in terms of economics, just like what I'm doing right now, is the genius behind my economic proposals. As one lady would say, she approached me, by the way, I was just, going to a restaurant, and she said, oh, you are Mr. Gavino Bautista? I'd like to thank you very much. I said, why, ma'am? Because you made me rich. You made me prosperous. You made me wealthy, and therefore, I am naming my son after you. I said, wow. Well, I said, those are the advantages if you listen to me, and we both smiled. She told me point blank that she was naming her son after me because she became wealthy. And I look to the past, and I hope Mr. Nelson Peltz is listening to me right now. Mr. Peltz, a pleasant good evening in New York. And if you're listening right now, Mr. Peltz, Unilever is very happy with the $40 billion investment of Amazon under the great leadership of Mr. Jeff Bezos, who was recently having the wedding of the century in Venice, Italy, with his very, very lovely wife, Miss Lauren Sanchez. And by the way, my congratulations to the lovebirds, our very popular billionaire, Mr. Jeff Bezos, and his wife, Mrs. Lauren Sanchez Bezos. So, Mr. Peltz, going back to Great Britain, as you know, up to now, Unilever is still in the doldrums of wanting to elevate their efficiencies to the level of efficiencies that they had during my time. And all I can say, Mr. Peltz, is that, when I go to our very nice stores here, our box stores in America, I don't see the merchandising that should happen. I don't see the new innovations in pricing. I don't see the new systems that should be there in Walmart, in Target, we have Aldi's here right now. And of course, we have local stores like Winco, Homeland here in the Midwest. It is the favorite store, by the way, by Oklahomans, which we call now the City of Champions. And the list goes on. All I'm saying is that the innovations in retail in America is simply so archaic. It's not even, I cannot even call it as an innovation because there's nothing. And so, Mr. Peltz, before they destroy this video again, I don't know how they jam it, but all you have to do, Mr. Peltz, is give me a call. I'd love to demonstrate on a per store basis on how Unilever can increase profitability. Because that has been always the problem with Unilever since way back. I think you're very well versed on that, so I don't want to sound like a broken record. And therefore, Mr. Peltz, my number is 405-503-8511. One more time, area code 405-503-8511. And my email address is superdeals, that's with a plural S, 1494 at gmail.com. One more time, that's superdeals1494 at gmail.com. And Mr. Peltz, as you know, this is my favorite line once I talk to people like Doug McMillan, of the CEO of Walmart, which I bumped into in Kansas, is I guarantee my numbers. I guarantee you'll be very happy. And for the first time in the history of Unilever, they will be so profitable. They will be so profitable that I think they might be finally considered as the #1 most profitable consumer company in the world. And I'd like to start with skincare, which is my forte, cosmetics, fragrances, health and beauty, and the like. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are, my guys are warning me already that we have do not have sufficient time left to cover the entire a video program that was done about 24 hours ago. So let me get to the next topic, which is the next Fed chairman. The next Fed chairman, well, everybody is speculating with so many Fed chairmen, but I think what I'd like to say is that as fellow economists, we cannot speculate, about the next Fed chairman, but my endorsement would be none other than Scott Bessent. Not unless there will be some last-minute changes, because you know how it is in Washington, D.C. It's very fluid, and the president already has, President Trump, that is, has already named the candidates 48 hours ago. And you can all read it in various newspapers, but the most accurate, as usual, was the Wall Street Journal. And my vote, well, as of today, as of this hour, Central Time, would be none other than Secretary of Treasury. That would be none other than Scott Bessent. And the reason being is very simple. We need a guy who can immediately make America the manufacturing place in the world, the #1 manufacturing place in the world. That's why I'm voting for Scott Bessent. I hope I pronounce his last name correctly. #2, make the dollar as gold as possible. Number 3, have a sustainable budget that will pay for the deficit. This is so crucial. Have a sustainable budget to pay for the $37 trillion deficit. And lastly, come out with an interest rate that is fluid and not stagnant, that has been going on forever with all central bank governors. In other words, the systems of today are gone. And again, that will be submitted shortly, the revised version to President Trump. But I cannot do it via FedEx, via UPS, or any mailing system, because as I told you, I can almost guarantee you it will be robbed. So if our friends in Washington, D.C. is listening to the cabinet members of President Trump, all they have to do is call me up as to how I can submit these hundreds of pages at whatever office here in the Midwest or directly to Washington, D.C., excuse me. Or probably in Florida. But anyway, as I said, my U.S. cell phone number is 405-503-8511, and my email address is superdeals1494 One more time, superdeals1494 And so I'd like to say also, as part of my my never-ending plan to make America great again, make America prosperous again, would be all because of the quality of immigrants. If we continue accepting immigrants of a low-class level like Wendell R. Managat from the Philippines. So I'm not being very biased, because I'm from the Philippines. I have a bias, no, for Philippines. I have only one bias, and that's RESULTS. I have a bias for performance results to make America prosperous overnight. Unlike in the Philippines, kung hindi ka naman malakas kay ganito at ganyan, wala talagang mangyayari sa'yo. And that's what this son of a bitch by the name of Wendell R. Managat is doing to me right now and destroying the good name of Filipino professional. So all he does every day is he follows me, wherever I go, like a monkey. That's why, unfortunately, some Americans call Filipinos as monkeys, precisely because of this guy. He's like a monkey. He follows me, like an idiot, and then copies all the documents, copies all the whereabouts I go to, and even, ladies and gentlemen, even breaks and enters my two private properties. One at 8101 Westwood Circle, Oklahoma City, and one at 9200 Northwest 71st Street, Yukon, Oklahoma. Now that is robbery. And so the Americans look down on Filipinos because of people like him. As President George Bush would say, Gavin, why are they following you like a paparazzi? I said, Mr. President, well, the former President Bush, that is, when he was in California. Well, Mr. President, I said, I don't know. They just follow me because they rob me and make money out of it. And the Filipinos, as usual, were called as monkeys. Like the family of Ben de Rosario, as usual. Following me like monkeys, exactly. So I am not being biased. If some Filipinos are monkeys, then so be it. And therefore, what am I trying to drive at? The quality of immigrants. If you are a Filipino like Wendell R. Managat, it's about time you leave tomorrow morning, or else your whole family will be tarnished. Your whole family. In fact, I'd like to address this to Andrew Tan, one of the billionaires we have back in the Philippines. I think Wendell R. Managat looks like the same person that attacked and killed 36 people in your great hotel in Newport, Resorts World Newport, Pasay City. The name is Jesse Carlos, formerly of the Department of Finance of the Philippine government, and he killed 36 people. So this Wendell R. Managat might kill people here because he is like a monkey stealing information on a daily basis and then passing it on to the Chinese. And that's why I'd like to request John Concepcion, if he is still affiliated with Republic Farm Mills dairy products, selected dairy products division. Because I have nothing to do with this son of a bitch, this criminal. And if he's going to lie that I'm making money, whatever the money is, I'm willing to open up all my books. I am willing to say that this is what I earned. I can have an accounting in the last, 25 years. Because I am not associated in any way with this extortionist, with this robber of endless U.S. intellectual properties, my private properties, by the name of Wendell R. Managat. Wendel, R is his middle name, and it stands for Rolyon, and the last name is Managat. I repeat, I am not making money, I am not associating with him. In fact, he is the worst person that I have ever met in my corporate world history. He is an insubordinator. He is a pig when he talks. Pinakabastos yan. Ewan ko kung bakit pinabayaan ng Estados Unidos na magpunta dito sa estado ng Oklahoma. I don't know why he's here with his family. Because one thing is for sure, he's here to rob me every day. He is here to rob my company, Midwestern Business Advisors, LLC Export Division, on a daily basis. And I have evidence to show that. And again, this will be all submitted to the FBI, headed by Mr. Kash Patel. So, ladies and gentlemen, moving forward with our Fast Track America, Fast Track American Prosperity, this is what I can tell you. We are doing it right now. We are doing it on a per county basis, and as you know, we are starting in the Midwest. we are making sure that if they follow Gavin Batista's proven formulas of economic and business success, they will achieve all-time high net profits of their given business ventures. So, ladies and gentlemen, to end this particular segment of our video, of our prosperity video program, and if you want to be a part of it, we can do interviews in any part of the world. We can do sponsorships if you want to sponsor and become, if you want to make your product famous here in the Midwest and in other parts of the United States. Give me a call at 405. That's area code 405 503 8511. Or you could hit me with an email at superdeals, that's with a plural S, 1494 at gmail.com. Again, superdeals1494 at gmail.com. Hit me with a good subscribe there, a good like, and give me a call or send me an email so we can make good money, make a good planning session, and make things happen as soon as possible. But there are, as you know, there are certain businesses that it cannot happen as soon as possible. Like the medical hotel that we are building, it took me about 3.5 decades to conceptualize and make things happen. And finally, it will happen this year. And to all my friends who want to know more about the medical hotel, all you have to do is give me a shout at my US cell phone number, 405, area code 405-503-8511. Or if you are in some other state or in some other country, in Asia, Europe, or Africa, my email address is at superdeals, SUPERDEALS, 1494 at gmail.com. One more time, superdeals 1494 at gmail.com. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to end at that, and I'd like to welcome you and embrace you to the City of Champions. And I'd like to congratulate our number 2 MVP. That's with a number 2 MVP, just like Dr. Martin Batista, my brother. That is his favorite number, number 2. None other than Shai Alexander. Congratulations to your team. Mr. Alexander, you have brought so much pride in this. Used to be an unknown state, but because of you, it's the number 1 state right now in America. And everybody is talking about the Thunder all over the world. Thanks to you and your leadership as the 3, what was it? You won 3 awards in 1 year. And that alone, again, is another shattering feat in history of sports all over the world, especially now as world champions. So, congratulations to my fellow Oklahomans. And this is what I can tell you before we end this video program. We will make you prosperous for sure. And if you know how to do it now. If you're having problems, questions, my number is 405-503-8511, or you can hit me an email at superdeals, that's with a plural S, 1494 at gmail.com. Thank you, good night, and welcome to the City of Champions, Oklahoma City. This is your host, Gavin Batista, signing off.